Well, team, we did it. We survived Squatober, and we had a lot of fun doing it. I would say it was exciting, if you will. If you've been watching the videos, you get it. So I wanted to talk today about what I learned from Squatober, how I felt about it, what I think was the best parts, the worst parts, everything in between. So before I get into any of it, I want to give a special shout out to my guy, Eric, who did it with me. You saw him in a lot of the videos. I really appreciated him having him by my side. I enjoy training with him anyway, but it was kind of cool to bounce ideas off each other, how we were feeling, check in, do most of the squatting together. So that was really cool. It was nice to do it with a pal. So if you decide to do it in the future, definitely would recommend finding a training buddy to do it with, because that was probably my favorite part. So I'm gonna break down each section of kind of how the sessions went, and then I'll talk about like the overarching feelings I had on Squatober as a whole. So first I want to talk about the warm-up. So I took notes, so if you see me glancing down, that's why. So with the warm-up, I learned a couple things. First being, I really applied a mobility warm-up that you saw in a lot of the videos. Just like a 10-minute flowy kind of thing. I'm using foam rollers, lacrosse balls, PVC, just to kind of loosen everything up and get going. And the days I could do that versus the days I couldn't, I think it made a huge difference, right? And so definitely applying that to all my squat sessions going forward, even if it's a quick little one, I think it makes a huge difference opening up my hips, getting my ankles going, which if you know me, I've had ankle injury problems in the last year and a half or so. So that was definitely a big win for me. Second part of the warm-up that I felt like I learned from a lot is not wasting time on junk sets. So I tend to be a pretty high volume trainer. So in my head or lifter, I'm like, well, why not do a 30% set too before I get into the 50 or the 60 or whatever they had laid out. And early on, it really made me realize that I didn't need that. The days that I just jumped straight into the 50 or 60 that they told us to start with, I felt pretty good once I got going. So using warm-up sets to really figure out how I'm feeling was something that I took into account a lot. But it's also important to notice that your brain can play tricks on you. There were plenty of days where my first couple of warm-up sets or even my first working set felt terrible, and by the end I felt phenomenal. So I don't really know what to gather from that. Like maybe I need to take more time on that mobility flow or do some type of CNS priming so my body's a little more prepped. But it's important to feel out how your body's feeling, but also know what your mind is doing so that you're not wasting time just putting negativity in, right? Like you're not gonna have a good session if the whole time you're saying, I feel like crap, I feel like crap. So trying to stay positive was a big part of that. Last but not least, just like a tiny bit, there was a few days where they threw like farmer's walks and goblet squats or push-ups before as like a little primer, and there was a couple days where I took the cardio they have on there and put it in the front, and doing those farmers walks with a couple of other little pieces like bent over row or push up felt really good, and those were some of the days that my squats felt the best. So I think it's important to really apply some things to prime your body. I definitely follow like the Jujimufu mindset of like you're warming up with squats for squats, but I don't think it hurts to do just a quick little warm up superset of movements just to kind of get your body going, to break a little sweat, to prime the CNS. So that's really my general ideas about the warm-up. As for the actual work itself, the main thing I learned over Squatober is don't be afraid to go heavy. I think that I squatted heavier more often during Squatober than I ever do. I tend to program either super heavy or 50-60% and pretty like rarely in between, and I think that's where all the money is made. I think that's where all my strength came from, was really hitting those like 70% days, 80% days that were fairly often. We had 2 or 3 of those a week, and I think I benefited a ton from that. Oh yeah, sorry, my handwriting is trash, so I gotta decipher what I said. So that's definitely something I benefited from and something I'll apply going forward. Another piece being less gear is more, right? It's a plus. So I would wear knee sleeves if my knees felt really crunchy or if it was cold out. But other than that, I wasn't wearing a belt very often, only if we were in that like 90%. I didn't even wear my lifters that often either. I was really trying to focus on screwing my feet into the ground. I wasn't really wearing shoes squatting either. I was doing it mostly in socks. So really think about screwing my feet into the ground, gripping the ground, using my whole foot, and to really engage those glutes. I talked in another video about how sore my glutes were, and I tend to be a pretty quad dominant squatter. So I think it gave me an opportunity to really work on engaging my glutes and using them in the squat to make me stronger. And last but not least for the actual work is obviously consistency is king. Going in every day and squatting, that's the thing this week that I've missed the most is just, I need to hop on a program, and I will. I was giving my body like a week to deload, but just that consistency of going in every day, knowing what to do, and that being something heavy. I've always been consistent with my training, but the consistency of using big lifts that heavy isn't something I've done a ton of. That kind of SBD thing, the powerlifting thing, power building, and that's something I really want to apply going forward. Obviously, I won't step away from my CrossFit training completely, but on my own time, that's something I really want to dive into more. So in terms of like my overall results and how I felt, I would say that I feel stronger than ever. I PR'd by 10 pounds when we tested. I really felt like I had 280, 285 in the tank. I hit 275. I'll put that video right here. So I think in the future, there's definitely more there. Maybe if I wasn't so fatigued, and to be honest, because I think this is something that more trainers need to talk about, where I was in my menstrual cycle, I think definitely affected my PR as well. So I'll be interested to try to test that again in the near future, but I feel stronger than ever. I was doing box jumps yesterday in class, and I literally felt like I could just float. It wasn't a particularly high box because I've been bouncing back from that ankle injury and I'm not jumping to super high heights yet, but the fact that I felt stronger with my legs on these dynamic movements was awesome. I wasn't as sore as I thought I would be. That's a huge thing. And I think what plays into that is the days that I focused on recovery made a huge difference. There was one day I didn't soak in an Epsom salt bath, and the next day I felt it. I had the worst session of all Squatober. Maybe the correlation isn't as strong as I think it is, but I think I put in more focus on recovery than most do, and that kept me from being insanely sore. And the body can handle a lot. Your body can handle so much, and that was the coolest thing about Squatober is I discovered that my body was ready. It wanted to work. It was hungry to work every day, and it was hungry to do heavy squats, and I missed that. Squats are the best. It's honestly, I already knew that going into it, and that's why I wanted to do it, but it only confirmed how I feel about squatting and how important it is. And then my last big result thing for me is my body transformation and nutrition. I was hungrier more often. I was eating cleaner. My body was craving clean foods. And over the month, I lost a considerable amount of body fat. I did some tests and weight, but I felt stronger than ever. And just based on the eye test, which is just as important to me, I was getting people pretty frequently the last 2 weeks telling me how good I looked, how much leaner I looked, and that is a huge win, right? So lifting heavy, people think you need to run or do all this cardio. Lift heavy weights. It's gonna change your body in ways you didn't know was possible. And that was a huge win for me because that wasn't something I was going into Squatober trying to hit. I just wanted to get big and strong. So if you're thinking about doing Squatober in the future, the answer is absolutely do it. Now, with a caveat, because I've had some of my members and athletes talking to me about the next challenge, which is probably gonna be December, but I didn't tell you that, or Squatober again, and they're like, I wanna do that. And I think that's awesome. I wanna spread that to everyone. Obviously, fitness is so important, but you should already be at a volume that is sustainable before you go into Squatober. If you're only in the gym 3 days a week, which is more than enough, if that's where you're at in your fitness journey, you don't need to be squatting every day. Your legs probably cannot handle the load that Squatober is if you're not already a high volume lifter. So really just work on being consistent. If you're going 3 times a week, maybe bump that up to 4 and focus on your recovery. That would be an awesome goal. If you can do that for 3 months consistently, I think you would see gains that you couldn't even imagine, right? And that's what I tell my athletes when they've asked me about Squatober. But I will absolutely be doing it again next year. I am in love with Squatober. It changed really how I viewed a lot of things, and I can't wait to do it again, and I can't wait to do more things like this. And I really enjoyed doing these videos for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the YouTube series. I'm not going away. I'm not going to stop making YouTube videos. I did, post, I think once or twice this week. I'll be bumping up the frequency again next week. Maybe not every day, but quite a bit. My workload is pretty high right now because our other full-time coach is out of the country through the end of the year. So it's a little hard to maintain that every day of the week, but I plan on sticking around, giving you I have some ideas back here, giving you some day in the life, full day of eating, garage gym tours, technique videos, etc. I plan on keeping after it because I've really enjoyed this long format time with you guys. Comment below what your favorite parts of Squatober were, and I look forward to hearing what you thought of it. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I couldn't have done it without the support that I got from my friends and family, and even some random people out there in the internet world. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I'll be continuing to post frequently on those platforms as always. And thank you so much for being along this ride for me. It was exciting. And I look forward to what's coming in the days, weeks, months, years to follow, right? So fitness is never over. The journey is constant. It's a marathon, not a race. Whatever other cliches, 1% better every day. Only the strong survive. Get better today. Proud but never satisfied. Hard work pays off. Go one more. I say it cliche like this, but these are all things I really believe. And I think Squatober really drove that point home. So thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging with me. And I can't wait to see what we're doing next.